Uh, my stream settings were still good. Let's try to... Let's lead with the birds, I guess. And then, see what else he has. Whoa. Okay. Yeah, against these control decks, not having a Thrun or like a... no, we don't want to do that. We want to play Bloodman. Not having a Thrun and then not leading on like a turn really early play really hurts us. Nope. Okay. He'll run out of those eventually. So, Thought Scour once again. Filling up his graveyard, milled Serum Visions and a Lightning Bolt. And either drew a land or naturally drew a land. This is the guy who passive-aggressively puts periods in the chat if you start playing any slower than he is. Lovely. So I'm just taking some notes real quick. All right. Let's try to jam that Bloodman again. We're not under any real threat. Cryptic, counter, draw. Okay. And I should have attacked there. Give up these little points of damage here and there. No blocks. And this is kind of how these games against these control decks play out, is that you just hopefully run them out of spells. Now, he's not playing remands, so he's playing mana leaks, presumably, instead. Or some combination of the two. So usually the mana leak decks have a little bit more of a difficult time against you because they just run out of gas, basically. Okay. Has access to Snapcaster Mage, though, which is a little annoying. So he's drew his card, he's Sulfur Fall, Steam Vent Swamp, and Gurmag Angler. Okay. This is going to be this further complicates things, as this deck has some trouble. Bonfire for one fewer than I need it to be relevant. Well, that blows. I do get rid of the beast, though, and I deal him 4, but I take 5. I don't advance my board at all. This is probably the best that Bonfire will be this game, but playing Acidic Slime and forcing him to have to deal with the playing Xenagos. I mean, we can sequence it such that we Bonfire this turn, then we Acidic Slime next turn. Yeah, let's try it. I mean, Bonfire is going to just be worse the longer the game goes, so. Because there's like getting to like 11 mana, or where it needs to be super relevant, is going to be difficult. Hello, Akash. How are you? welcome to this dream. Glad to see you were awake. And we'll go ahead and tap some mana and then cast, make red 4, make X4, hopefully kill his beast, and like I said, next turn we're going to take 5 from the Gurmag Angler. Help, he just drew 3 mana leaks, that's great. So, nope, okay. That's fine. Hopefully he does not draw anything worthy or anything relevant next turn. And draws into a Thought Scour. Take 8, go to 5. Alright, well, at least we have something to hope for. So at this point, what we're going to do is play Acidic Slime, knock out one of his basics because we want a top-decked Blood Moon to still be pretty solid, and we'll hopefully put Slime in front of the Gurmag Angler and only take 3 from the beast next turn. Hopefully he doesn't have a bolt. Oh, wait. Okay. So he could have just main phase terminated. Alright. And that sucked, but we will move on. And we were on the play, I believe, that game. No, we were on the draw. So draw a loss. And then, so Grixis Delve, we're going to basically, because he's not playing white, he doesn't have access to cards that exile my stuff. So Kitchen Finks gets much better here as well. I like Spellskites, and I may be just initially overboarding too much here, but actually I think that going after his lands, at least the traditional way with Stone Rain and Molten Rain, is not the way to go, because basically what you're doing is you're just filling up his graveyard so you can delve, and it's counterintuitive, and it's not good. I'm also going to board out bolts here because they really don't target much outside of the random Snapcaster Mage, and they can be some pretty lousy top decks. As well, Bonfire will get out of here, and in the same, so we're going to leave Beast Within in because it's a necessary evil against the X5s, but we'll go ahead and take out, I'm going to take out 1 Avalanche Riders, simply because he's going to have a lot of ways to kill it. So paying the Echo and then paying the Echo like on my next upkeep and then getting it killed is pretty miserable. So we'll go ahead and stick with that now. I don't think he has any artifacts for me to bring in Grudge for. So this looks like exactly what I'm going to do, and I'm just going to write that down real quick. So we took out the Rains, 1 Rider, and 1 Bonfire, and Bolts. And we brought in Skites, which Skites are really great because they just attract a ton of his removal. And oftentimes, if it's a Bolt, then you just can't kill it. Pia and Kieran come in because you want to just spread out your threats as well as make sure that they all fly. We'll play the Thrun because it resolves, and Finks because it is resilient. So, and especially since we're on the play, we can afford to be a bit more aggressive. All right. So our first round of this league, we started a new league earlier. Lost to it's a fine hand, I guess. We'll go ahead and keep it. For my first round, I lost to Affinity because I mulled the 5 game 2 and basically did not draw any relevant spells for the 4 turns I was alive. And then game 2, I boarded and kept a hand that was Bolt, Sudden Shock, 2 lands, Stormbreath Dragon, and something else. I eventually drew another Dismember, but I never saw an Ancient Grudge, so I was never able to Ancient Grudge the artifacts that were around his Etch Champion, and eventually he went Etch Champion into Etch Champion, and he had a Darksteel Citadel in play, and then he eventually played a Plating, and I just couldn't stop the damage from there. We'll go ahead and play a fetch land here, and fetch at his end of turn to get some lands out of the deck. And Inquisition got Spellskite, which is kind of a bummer, but it's fine. I mean, as long as his Spellskite, his Inquisition didn't get a Finks or anything, so that's good. We'll go ahead and we have. We're gonna go ahead and get a Forest here, just because if we draw into Blood Moon or something, we already have 2 quote-unquote mountains in our hands. So, okay, so here we are in one of the awkward moments in the deck where I have my just 5 and 6 mana spells and not 5 or 6 mana, so. And he is prepping for Blood Moon, so that is 6 cards in hand. I think so. If I don't start jamming stuff, I'm just going to lose the game. He has 2 mana up, Creeping Tar Pit, semi-full graveyard, so, or 3 card graveyard, so, but that's kind of how you. Oh man, I just forgot. I just said no instead of yes. Okay, well, I guess we're going a different route. That sucks. The Arbor Elf and pass the turn. And that's kind of how we do it. We're going to try to win this game is basically just overload him and presents too many threats for him to deal with, as we are the aggressive deck. One of those fun moments where you remember that you play worse online than you do in paper. So, all right, Inquisition is totally fine. You miss. So your cheaper option, Thoughtseize, would have been better in that situation. Just saying. Alright, so Plato land and a Tasigur. Okay. Here we can. So we have access to 2, 4, 6, 8 mana. He has no red mana, so he does not have access to Terminate. He just emptied his graveyard, so he can no longer Murderous Cut. I think I want to play the Titan here, just because that's the it can tussle with Tasigur much better, and I can. It's like less resilient than the Stormbreath Dragon. It doesn't. It doesn't have haste, so the whole. It just needs to be the thing I play right now. All right, and that is fine. Okay, so he drew his red source. So, let's go ahead and attack. See what happens. Now, Blood Moon is, while less than ideal, because he has the basics up, it still does a lot because he plays Cryptic. So you can cut off his other... He's, greedy, basically. So you can cut off his mana sources. Okay, Snapcaster Mage. Targeting Thought Scour. Double blocking. Okay. And yeah, that's fine. And we have access to 2, 4, 6, 8 mana. We'll go ahead and play. We'll do Blood Moon and Inferno. Or we'll do Stormbreath Dragon and Blood Moon this turn. And we will lead with... what do we want to lead with? Let's lead with Dragon, because then... or let's lead with Blood Moon, because if he counters it, then our threat can resolve. And... okay. And... he's playing Counter Squall. I love that card. So he does have a full graveyard with 6 cards. And a... oh, okay. Alright, looks like I got that game. And I was on the play, and I won that game. And I don't think I want... sometimes, if I'm on the play, I'll switch up the, Rider's Stone Rain numbers to be a little better on the play, or, I'll bring in Bolts back in if I'm anticipate myself being in situations where, I need a turn 2 play, where they are able to... they're an aggressive deck where I'm able to kill my elf. But in this situation, I think that the Stone Rains and Molten Rains are just not as good, because basically I just need every spell in my deck to either deal with his things or try to kill him, and because eventually that's how you just overload them. And this is all fine. I like the configuration for game 3 on the draw. And yeah, so I have the chat open, and as well as Twitter. You can hit me up on Twitter at Matt Mendoza if you have any questions, or if you want to follow me. If you have any questions, I'm glancing over at the chat, and if you want to know anything about the deck, just let me know. So we're on the play. We can get to 3 mana on turn 2 fairly reliably with the Utopia Sprawl. So regardless if he has a Bolt or anything like that, we can play through it. So we also have a Xenagos. The upsetting part a little bit is that we don't have a 3 mana threat like a Kitchen Finks, but if we draw it, I feel like the mana, if we have enough mana, as long as we just can cast a spell a turn, we can be fine. Freak014 asks where could I see this deck list. I actually just tweeted it on Twitter at Matt Mendoza, so you can find the link there as well. On the stream to the right underneath the Blood Moon, I have the list that I'm playing currently right now, and it has it is completely updated with all my card choices. So or actually I'm not playing the Ruin Blaster anymore, so I'll correct that real quick. Made some changes to it last night. Decided to play Xenagos the Reveler over the Garruk or the Ruin Blaster. So, okay. Okay, so we drew a Riders, so we can, at least we have a nice curve going where we can, like, go into, like, we don't have a turn 3 play, so we can play the Stomping Ground and not take the 2 damage, but we can start, like, you know, going Riders into Slime and then into Xenagos, or however we want to do it. And, no. Yeah, but okay. Okay, Tar Pit. And, oh, Finks. Of course I draw it here. That's fine. You know, being that he'll probably kill the Riders or counter it or something. It's a good threat, you know, if it resolves. Even better. Okay. Nope. We'll not be paying for Mana Leak. And we'll open up his graveyard. 4 cards, 2 Serum Visions. He had 2 Serum Visions early on turns 1 and 2 to find his second land. Or presumably a second and third lands, but he has mana now, so. Okay, so could he have at 4? And we're going to play, at this point, we'll play our more expensive spell. We'll play the Sprawl first. And, because the idea is that if we jam the more expensive spells first, we can jam more spells per turn later on the game and get a bigger advantage from there. Okay, and we're going to say green. Slime, if it resolves. Okay. Snapcaster, Flashback, Mana Leak, presumably. He's going to try to get some offense going. Then next turn, I'll have access to 6 mana, 7 mana actually, so I'll be able to jam both Kitchen Finks and Xenagos. Painful Truth, okay. And he resolves Painful Truth for 3. Presumably looking for his 5th land. And Tasigur. That is fine. Wolf Run. And so now we get to resolve all of our stuff. Just making sure we have all the mana for it. Green, green, colorless. And then play Xenagos. And we will go ahead and 0 Xenagos to make a token and not attack. If he attacks with both creatures with if you attack Xenagos with both creatures, we can still block with we can block Tasigur and kill it, and Xenagos will still survive. Which cannot actually be said of Garruk, which is an important note in this situation. Granted, Garruk would give us 4 mana if we were to plus it, but we don't have anything to do with that extra mana right now. And as James pointed out, that Malishkamo on Twitch, Xenagos's plus is pretty sweet with Kessig Wolfrun. And we can actually probably just start getting in with Kitchen Finks, really, if we wanted to next turn. He has 6 cards in hand. That's a lot of cards. And he could have activated Tar Pit as well and attacked with it, just to make sure that Xenagos in fact died. But the way, but he leaves himself off with leaves himself 2 mana up still, and he is attacking Xenagos. And we will go ahead and trade with his Tasigur. And let Xenagos go to 1. And what does he have? Is tapping untapping his swamp. Could have Terminate. Could have Culligan's Command. Okay. And I will discard a card, and he will deal 2 damage to... what is his target? And he's dealing 2 damage to Xenagos? Yeah, he dealt 2 damage to Xenagos. So that the Snapcaster Mage is legal for Xenagos, or lethal for Xenagos. But I get my Finks back. Still has a Snapcaster Mage. I gain 2. And just drew Pia and Kieran. And so the question here is, do I get a little aggressive and start attacking him? He does have Tar Pit plus Snapcaster Mage, so that's 5 damage a turn. And 4 cards in hand, which is a lot. Let's go ahead and attack. Two points in, and then see what he does. Okay. And he let it resolve. At that, and play Pia and Kieran with enough to pay for Mana Leak. Should he have one? And enough to sack as an artifact should we need to do that. And he killed. So he terminated Pia and Kieran in response to the trigger. And he is going to race with Tar Pit. And he's not representing Terminate. And so at this point we're just going to go in. And we have Wolf Run, so we can make whatever he blocks. We'll just go ahead and target that. And we'll just tap out for our Wolf Run. This is where I am super glad I re-added this card back into the deck. At one point, I did not have it in. At one point, I cut it because most of the time when it was in play, it was just it was like a non-basic mountain. Good because of Blood Moon, but I like it quite a bit. Now we're kind of in an awkward situation where if he has a Culligan's Command, which he may not actually have one in hand, being that he delved the way he did. That may be what is what he's communicating, because with Snapcaster Mage and 2 Culligan's Command, and then plays Tasigur to activate it. I will give him a Snapcaster Mage. So his Tasigur activation was pretty sweet, though, with the plussing of with just the flipping of 2 lands. But we just drew a Spellskite, and we should be able to protect our Thopters from any shenanigans, since we will be able to use Wolf Run plus the 2 Thopters to just fly over his Tasigur and attack him for lethal this turn. He's thinking an awful long time about this Spellskite. I mean, we know he has a Snapcaster Mage in hand. I don't think he's revealed any other cards to us. And this is the first time this game he's resolved Tasigur, so the other 2 cards in his hand are unknown. But he is in kind of a bad spot where he has this Scalding Tarn here, but he's at 3. So if he fetches, he puts himself at 2. And basically lethal to any of the Thopters, regardless. He could also just be trying to time me out, because he thought I was playing slowly, too slowly for him. So and so far, I would say that I've been like this game that I drew it and played it. I've been quite impressed by Xenagos. It's been pretty good. Okay. So let's see what we can do in the meantime. So yeah, the deck configuration has the 2 new Xenagos. I'm going to double check to make sure that the deck that I have on camera or on the screen is the same as the deck that I have in my virtual hand. And okay. Okay, let's see if he... Nope, he's just going to try to time me out. That's fine. And so, yeah, 4, 6, 9, 11, 12, 15, 18, 22, 25, 28, 32, 33, 34, 36, 37... I'm missing 1 card, I think. Okay, so I have the bolts. Oh, I do have 1 Molten Rain in the deck. Okay. That's in there. And I have the Batterskull. I don't have the Batterskull listed. That's what's up. Okay. Paul Bierman or Berman asked, "What is this what I'm bringing to fight the Eldrazi Menace?" Yeah, I don't. I mean, it's not exactly fighting the Eldrazi Menace. I kind of had the idea when I stumbled upon Utopia Sprawl and Arbor Elf, but it definitely posts up good results versus the Eldrazi decks. Because, I mean, Blood Moon, I've been espousing that Blood Moon is a really good card against them. It was much better a couple weeks ago, but now decks are adapting to it, and they're getting a little bit better, but they are still, they have to have, like, the planes that they play, or the island that they play, or the wastes that they play. And they can't fetch for the wastes, which is super important. Even though they can fetch for the planes or the island or whatever, if they're playing another basic of some sort in their color configuration. They usually have fetch lands. And then path is they have access to path, so they can very well path their creature to go get a wastes. Or they can play Sky Spawner, which... Paul Bierman said, I do not feel like Blood Moon is very good anymore versus them. They are really fast. While I agree that they can be really fast, again, I don't really have a huge problem with it. If you have a spell, like a way to interact with their mana base on turn 2, it slows them down considerably, and really the only times really that I get beat by them is when they have like a really early Reality Smasher. So that's the only thing that like they get on me, is that they can smash me really early. This guy. So that's just been my experience with Eldrazi. So, I mean, your mileage may vary, but I usually play with the mid-rangey style of deck. Can usually beat their endless ones and stuff like that. And Thought-Knot Seer is harsh, but it's still just a 4/4. But yeah, so Kosh brings up that Blood Moon is better against the blue-white version than the colorless version, and yeah, absolutely. Which is really surprising, because you would figure that the Blood Moon, well, it's better in different ways, because I feel like the Blood Moon version or the colorless version can afford to play more wastes, but can play more spells under Blood Moon. So that's why I mean, they don't have, like, instead of Drowner, they have other stuff like Sower and whatever. And Paul, I'm glad that you said you've very much been enjoying Lantern Control, and I'm glad it's and I do agree that Ensnaring Bridge is a very powerful card. So, but yeah, Lantern Control is oh, he said okay, all right. Looks like we are attacking this game. Oh, did he just let it resolve so that he wouldn't? Yeah. Yeah. Akash says, enjoying. Questions Paul's ability to enjoy playing Lantern Control. So, definitely agree. We'll go ahead and let's just keep an eye on this game. He's probably going to lose because of timing out. So, but let's just run in it. Let's just do a 2-man. See what sort of random craziness we get here. Okay, Megli. And this looks like a decent hand. I'm confused as to why I have an Acid Moss in my deck right now, but I wonder if I loaded the wrong deck, but we'll run with it. We're really just watching this game anyway, because as soon as this game is over, I want to move on to the next league match, but it'll be around so around 17, about 7 minutes. Ooh, blue-white. All right. And we'll go with just basic forest. No reason to go get a stomping ground right now. We don't need the double red. And we'll have access to getting a stomping ground later in the game when we play the Acid Moss. Blue red. Now we can hope that he taps out for a okay. Oh, that sucks. That's fine. Oh, I was hoping he would tap out for a Wall of Omens. So, but yeah, you can't always be that lucky. No, and then we'll just play an Arbor Elf and pass. So blue, white, red. So Thrun is going to be a champ in this particular matchup. So we're just kind of flitting around games. Okay, so he does not have a second land, or a third land, which is pretty bad. And what will... Oh, Habakiri is waiting for me to respond. Okay, I will declare attackers. Okay. Now I have an option here where I can try to go for a Moss, or I can try to tap him down on his upkeep or end of turn. And I think I'm going to try to tap him down on his on his upkeep, because that will allow me to open the door. That will open the door for maybe Batterskull or Acid Moss. So we'll go ahead and we'll try that, and I'll go ahead and attack here. Down to 22. Check on my league match real quick. Yep, he's still just doing his thing. End of turn. Okay, that is fine. And on upkeep, we will go ahead and Beast Within his... we want to make our threats more resilient to path, because that's about the step phase of the game that we're getting into. So we'll go ahead and we'll go after his Hallowed Fountain. And I've considered, I only run one Beast Within in the version that I play, and I've considered running more, but I feel like it's strong in that situation and not a whole bunch of others. Especially with all the aggressive decks running around. Not a fan of giving them another thing to beat my face with. Alright, well, I can beat the Mana Scrutiput. And it's his lucky day, because as soon as my league match is over with, I will happily concede to him. And we will play a Batterskull. That way, next turn, if he has if he actually draws a second mana source, we can just play Thrun. Yeah, we'll go We'll get another forest. I have considered, and it may be a crazy... Yeah. Akash says, I would hope that you can beat a mana screwed opponent when your whole game plan is to mana screw your opponent. Yep. Yep. I agree. And Thrun. And then we get to equip Thrun, Batterskull to Thrun. And I'll just pass. And I've considered the potential of putting a Wastes in and playing Reality Smasher over Stormbreath Dragon. And we will go back to our original match, activate Wolf Run. And just for the max. Okay. And that was that game. And we won't waste any time sideboarding. Because, like I said, I just want to go back to my league match. Yeah. Yeah, Akash says I like Stormbreath when the most popular Eldrazi decks play Path and Displacer. And actually, I have found that Path is... Displacer is something I've never actually been worried about. I have seen one cast against me, and it has been a 3/3. Other than that, though, it has done literally nothing else. So my real problem is Dismember, and having an opponent that can dismember my Stormbreath. So that's the only real reason why I've considered I don't think I would ever do it, but if you put like putting Smashers and a Wastes in a deck against Path, where they can path your stuff and you go to... It's kind of the same principle of like why Owen played Affinity last year, played Steal over, or the enchantment, whatever it was. The white one gives all your creatures artifact, your artifact creatures +2/+2. Why he played that was that the path, the metagame was full of Path, so it was just it was no, not Aether. It wasn't Aether Grid. It was Tempered Steel. That's what it was. I knew Steel was in there somewhere. But yeah, Tempered Steel. And we'll go ahead and concede this game to the power of his tapped Colonnade. And I'm going to let my opponent know that I was waiting for my jerky opponent to time me out in a league. Donka wants to, or Donka, hey, Donkey, asked if he could have my opinion on Bluetron. And so here's what I've only played against it. I've not played it. So my whole opinion is from this side. I can tell you that it has a it's a really tough matchup for me because they could just kill, like they could just counter or whatever, and then they just keep drawing. So I will typically, like, that's a really tough match. Like, I'm 1 and 2, I think, historically. But from what I've heard about people, from people who have played it, that they find that it's not great against Affinity, like pretty bad against Affinity. So that's why it's never been a huge metagame contender. Other than that, though, I can see it having a lot of trouble with the more aggressive decks in the format because it's not like Blue-White Tron, where Blue-White Tron has access to Wraths and stuff. This one just doesn't, like, they play a bunch of creatures and you just have to hope to hit your top end, and if they have any sort of disruption, then it gets pretty bad. Like, you can repeal their stuff, you can remand their spells and stuff, but really, like, against the Zoo decks and stuff, you just have a hard time. And yeah, as Akash points out in the chat, Tron in general is bad against Affinity, and it's true, but even the red-green Tron deck is superior because it has access to like cards like Pyroclasm and Kozilek's Return. And so you have like sweepers and stuff. But yeah, Paul Bierman points out that Utron is not too bad with the Chalice of the Voids. And yeah, chalices can definitely help. You're still, remember, you're not on, if you're on the play, you don't have access to Simian Spirit Guide like the other decks do. At least I don't think Bluetron plays Simian Spirit Guides. And yeah, let's go back to our league. So that's just my opinion on playing against Bluetron. Also, I think it's kind of a weird choice because you have a different top end, and I've seen people play like really creative, like Platinum Angels and Treasure Mage type stuff, and the deck. I mean, the deck does have its merits because it's the version that can function the best without Tron. But yeah, like it's Paul mentions also Chalice for 0 and Utron all play Chalice. Okay. Like I said, I'm not super familiar with the deck list, so yeah, Donkey says he's going with a more budget deck, and I would say that all the mythics probably make it not budget. This is a pretty good hand. We can get to 4 mana on turn 2. Are we on the play? We are not on the play, so. And we won that last game, so. And magical _ gathering. Okay. Foothills. We're on the draw. Yeah, Oblivion Stone got expensive. Donkey points out Oblivion Stone minus Oblivion Stone in a sideboard. It's not too bad. Yeah. I wish Goblin Guys were still budget. That would be nice. Alright, now this is a little worrisome because he could be playing mono red, which I have seen, which I am significantly worse against, or he could be playing Naya, which I'm actually very good against. So I'm going to take, regardless, both versions play Searing Blaze in some numbers, and the mono red version definitely plays 4. I'm going to go with the more conservative line where I could play Elf and then hope to untap, play the Stomping Ground, attach the Stomping Ground to the Utopia Sprawl, and get 4 mana next turn. but I really have no significant incentive to at this point in time, because I have 2/3 spells right here, and I have a lightning bolt. Should I just want to play the Stomping Ground tapped, and then play an Arbor Elf and a bolt? So I have some options this turn. So I haven't already told you guys, please subscribe. Love to get more subscribers as well. You can hit me up on Twitter at Matt Mendoza if you have any questions or if you want to see the list or any updates. I will be heading to GP Detroit, so all of my tournament updates will be recorded there. And bolt me, attack 4/2. Okay. Now, okay. So red-white, at least. So he may be playing either Mardu or Naya, which either one, this is fine. It's good news. And it's really funny when you think about it, that the idea that playing against a burn deck is good news, but we're actually pretty good against them. And this turn, I'll go ahead and go a little risky, and I'll play both both elves and bolt his Monastery Swiftspear right now. That way he can't prowess. He doesn't have any tricks. So yeah, and yeah, people are in the chat are talking about some budget options for paper. In fact, yeah, I mean, outside of the the Misty Rainforests and the lands, in fact, is actually not that bad. Same thing with Boggles. Actually, outside of the mana base, Coronets are much cheaper now that they've had the reprint. And oh, what else? So yeah, you have Coronets and then Spirit Dancers, but you can also play a version without Spirit Dancer. Okay, so we have a Titan and an Acidic Slime. I'm gonna go with, I think I'm just gonna destroy both of his lands this turn. And then next turn, because this will severely cripple him, and hopefully put him off of 9 mana, because he could go like, he doesn't have a land in hand. Okay. I extend my clock if I destroy his lands, is my thinking. I could be wrong, but and yeah, in fact, you do also have to play, like, Spellskite is a thing, and we'll go ahead and play the Titan here, and hopefully he does not just go bolt or bolt Arc Trail. Or not Arc Trail, Shard Volley. And we basically have him dead next turn, so if he doesn't kill me. And to be completely honest, don't get this, but this deck is super budget. I play Blood Moons, and that's about the most expensive card in the deck. Outside of the Spellskites, Batterskull, I play the fetches, so you gotta get Foothills and Heaths and stuff. So I've been really satisfied with this. Okay, so I can hit him for 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And that is what I am going to do. He may have Path, but I highly doubt it. So I'm going to go for it. Now I'm wondering if he is just red-white burn. Because that would be an interesting choice. I'm not sure why you would play it over other versions. So Donkey says he is right now. He's don't judge. He's running a Tree Folk deck because it's just too fun. It was about $60 and absolutely wrecks in casual play. That's awesome. I actually really love when people just jam like whatever whatever they want. Like that's great, and especially like one of the reasons why I like Modern is that Modern has like 3 different levels. Depending on what you're playing at. If you're playing like a local 3 or 4 round tournament, you can just kind of jam whatever and possibly win. And but if you're going for a longer game, a longer tournament like a GP or something, you have to play something that's a little bit more consistent. Alright, so what is going on here? I am moving into my combat. He has 4 cards in hand. Oh yeah, yeah. Kosh also says budget decks. I mean, Merfolk is still pretty budget. So it's also like, I mean, Merfolk. It's getting more expensive, but like, it's one of those decks where like all the pieces are spread out among. The expense is actually just spread out along the thing. So Reejeries and Silvergill Adepts and the Lords and Aether Vial and things like that. But it's not one of those where you have like Goyfs and other stuff that costs money. All right, we'll attack with Titan here. Deal him the 3, and then just do a whole bunch of pumping. Pump it up. And let's go ahead and add a bunch of mana to our mana pool. And if he has the path, he has the path. That's fine. Next turn, we can still play our second Titan and get in, not a problem. What is he waiting for? Also, one budget deck that I've heard talked about quite a bit is, and we'll go ahead and set to auto yield on Inferno Titan's pump ability. Extra turns, I think, is a fairly budget deck. And yeah, hopefully this will deal him the combat damage I need. Okay. And draw a win. Okay. Now against Burn, we're going to take out the land destruction because it is not really that good against him. Now, depending on what he's playing in his sideboard or like what I didn't see in his main deck, against the red versions, Blood Moon is awful, obviously. Against the red white green versions or the red white black versions, Blood Moon is great. It takes away almost all of their white and green sources so that they can't play some of their more powerful spells like a Tarkus Command and Burrow's Charm. But I don't know how good it is against a version that is just red and white. So we will just keep it in, just in case. I like it better than, well, let's not bring in the Thrun, and let's leave out, because one of the main things that like is cool about this deck is that Riders against like the Burn and Zoo decks, Riders and Acidic Slime function as like 2-for-1s, where I can play them, destroy a land, block with them, and but I think I'm just gonna take out this. Well, I'm gonna take out the Riders. I'm putting in. Actually, I'm gonna take out 2 of the Riders for one of the Thruns. Thrun's a pretty great blocker, and Acidic Slime, it has a little more utility in that it's a cost-efficient way to deal with, or not cost-efficient, but it also deals with Eidolon. Or Shrine of Burning Rage, which I have seen some decks bring in. So we're taking out the Rains, we're taking out 2 Riders, and we're taking out, that's it. And then we're adding in Finks, Skite, Pia and Kieran, and a Thrun. Now, it may be one Thrun too many, I'm not sure. He can't exactly counter it, so seeing it like in my opening hand is not as important. And yeah, oh, also, actually another budget option that's actually pretty good and genuinely budget, white-black tokens. That deck is frequently like tier 1.5, and it's super affordable. I mean, I think they play the fetches you'll need, and you know, you really don't even have to play those, but just about everything else. The Inquisitions and the Thoughtseizes, depending on how many of those you want to run, those are going to be a little something. But other than that, it's a decent deck. So I'm going to try this. I'm a little worried. Well, 5 lands, Finks, and Thrun. I'm going to mulligan. I think I can get something a little bit better. Okay, this is a little bit better. We've got a turn 2 play if he kills Arbor Elf, and then a solid blocker and a solid burn attractor. Now, I think I really should have taken out Beast Within and left in something else, but it's a little bit too late now, but that's something I'll do in the future. And yeah, so Akash brings up, sometimes they play Bitter Blossom, but not everyone who plays the deck agrees it's good. And yeah, absolutely, all those statements are true. And I don't know, I've never been impressed with it. So, all right, we're gonna keep this hand, and we get a Scry. Hopefully, our Scry is like another Thread or like a Kitchen Finks or something. So yeah, actually Akash brought up that Sudden Shock is probably what I want instead of Beast Within, which I realize now that I think I just forgot to sideboard those in, and I usually do against the aggressive decks. All right. What are you mulling over there? You mulled the 5. And I think this will be my last match for the night. It's late and I'm tired. And I'm forgetting to sideboard in cards. So, there's that. And are there any questions from the chat? I will happily answer any questions that you might have. So, Akash, you saw a very early version of this deck. What are your thoughts about its evolution, or have you paid that much attention to it? I'm very curious. Akash asked if I have inside information about Eternal Masters. For $25,000, I can tell you anything that you want. Let's just put it that way. Obviously, absolutely not. I wish I did. Alright. That scry was sick. That kept the land in my hand and basically turned my mold of 6 into a 7. So Goblin Guide is a weird beneficial to 1-drop against us because it doesn't usually deal us more than 2 to 4 damage, and I draw a lot of lands off of it, as well as I usually will play fetches and crack fetches to manipulate my draws, so that like Goblin Guide trigger will reveal a card to me, and if I don't want to draw it, I'll just crack a fetch to shuffle. Akash says Xenagos seems strange though. So my logic with Xenagos was that I wanted Garruk, Wildspeaker, and ultimately Xenagos is actually a brand new addition. And the idea is that it gets me mana, and it has a higher potential for mana than Thrun, or it makes creatures that attack and block. Which basically, those two things are what I want out of that slot, so that I can pivot on my game plans. Like if the game is looking like it's going to be one where ramp is better for better against whatever I'm facing, then I can ramp. Or if it looks like going aggressive and just making a bunch of tutus versus a control opponent is going to be better, then that's what I would like to do. Okay, so Eidolon of the Great Revel. And we will go ahead and we'll fetch a... Oh, yeah, no, Akash thought it was the God Xenagos. Yeah, I definitely would not play that card. And we'll fetch the Mountain while it's least painful, and then we'll play Kitchen Finks. We're going to take 2... which is going to suck, but we'll gain 2, and then we'll have a sweet blocker. So he basically can't attack with Eidolon. And I'll block Goblin Guide. I don't care. I'm all about getting card advantage. This is basically how this deck beats the burn decks, is that it just blocks. And yeah. 6 lime. Yeah, we'll go ahead and block. He has a fetch, and 2 cards, so Searing Blood, or Searing Blaze is a thing. And I'm not sure if my viewership number is accurate. Akash, can you tell me if 17 is still what I'm at? Oh, yeah. That makes sense. Akash mentioned that I might want to have waited so I can fetch a Stomping Ground untapped to get my second red for Inferno Titan. I had not thought about that. And it's a very valid point. I will play a Spellskite here. And we're just going to hang out. 15, okay. 15, 17. All right. Just getting it in. And we'll go ahead. We'll attack here. So he is now down to 0 cards. And really, actually, speaking of budget decks, like outside of Goblin Guides, you know, depending on what you can very easily play a red-white burn deck, or like this deck right here, where you can have Mesas. You can also just play mountains and burn. Like there's enough mono red support for mono red where you can build a mono red burn deck and then grind it until you can grind it at local events and things like that. And so we'll go ahead and play Acidic Slime, get rid of his Cliff Top Retreat, and just kind of see what he wants to do before we make our move. Okay. We could have slimed his Eidolon. That's okay. I had mentioned that while we were sideboarding. Yeah, Akash says they lost to it the red burn decks a lot when testing Amulet Bloom, and he's talking about the Goblins deck. Yeah, actually, so I've come across the Goblins deck a couple times, and looks like I won that match. I've actually lost to it a few times, so because it can like be deceptively like where it plays like a couple things, and then it just plays a couple other things, and then you're like, okay, all right, so this is what the deck's doing, and then it just plays Bushwhacker and all the other stuff, and then it just wins. So, yep. So, all right, well, I'm gonna go ahead and call it a night here. Thank you all very much for watching. I'll take any last minute questions or anything like that. But I encourage you to please follow me and subscribe. As well, the archive of this broadcast will be on YouTube at youtube.com/Matt Jacob Mendoza, and Jacob with a C. And yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at Matt Mendoza. And looks like what we got in the... Turns out Lava X for... talking about the Goblin deck, and Lava X for 1 is not very fair, even it has the drawback of sacking a 1/1 token. Oh yeah. Goblin Grenade is in this format, which is pretty nutso, and I think greatly underplayed. And yeah, you could just die from like double grenade. I mean, it reminds me of Shrapnel Blast. Like, I wonder if we can play like a Goblin artifact deck, so we can just play Goblin Grenade and Shrapnel Blast, and just nug our opponent. And then what if we make it domain so we can play Tribal Flames? So let's make domain goblins shrapnel blast, and then make it so good it's bad. How's that sound? But I like the idea of Goblin Guide, or yeah. I like the idea of the Goblin deck and a Shrapnel Blast deck put together. That just sounds silly. All right. Well, you all have a great night, and thank you for watching. Bye.